سيدنا محمد كما تحب وترضى بأن تصلي عليه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وما كنا معذبين حتى نبعث رسولا. وقال تعالى: إن الذين كفروا وماتوا وهم كفار أولئك عليهم لعنة الله والملائكة والناس أجمعين خالدين فيها لا يخفف عنهم العذاب ولا هم ينظرون. صدق الله العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Most respected ulama, my respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Last week I commenced with a three-part series on the concept of kufr and what the reality of kufr, or the disbelief, is from the Holy Quran, from the teachings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I tried to give you the four fundamental categories of kufr. One being kufr inkar, when a person completely, openly disbelieves in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like you would have the atheists and whatever it is. And one was kufr juhud being that type of kufr when a person knows the truth in his heart. He knows full well, he or she knows full well that this is the truth, this is the haqq, and this is it, right? But what their heart believes and what their tongue say are two different things. So that was kufr juhud, which we discussed in quite a bit of detail. And then of course we have kufr mu'anada. Kufr mu'anada is a little different from kufr juhud in the sense that a person accepts with his heart and articulates with his tongue that this is the truth. Like Heraclius and Abu Talib, or the Prophet, they accepted the Prophet of Allah, the Prophet of Allah. Right? But because of some reasons, loss of power, loss of wealth, envy, concern, worry, and whatever it is, and some type of some personal issues, they don't accept Islam. That's kufr mu'anada in a nutshell. And then of course the last one, kufr nifaq. Kufr nifaq is when a person testifies to the kalima la ilaha illallah, lives like a Muslim, behaves like a Muslim, and is given his burial rights and everything as a Muslim or whatever it is there. But in his heart, there is only kufr, there is only disbelief. And the Holy Quran says, "Inna al-munafiqina fi darkil asfali minan nar." They will occupy the lowest point of hell. Right? And these would be people who Muslims would be compelled to accept based on their outward condition that they are Muslims. But in reality, they are munafiqs, and it is left to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give the final judgment in terms of their matters. This is based on this whole concept, or this idea of when in this modern era, locally and globally, people are giving a fatwa of kufr willy-nilly. And all of a sudden it's vogue, right, for people to go out there and call people murtad, and call people Kaafir, and call people all of these blasphemous terms in terms of Islam itself, when a person is taken out of the fold of Islam. So today's discussion is basically going to be on, hey, who am I really? But on the second level, wherein we're going to speak on potential Muslims and potential Kaafirs. Potential Muslims and potential Kaafirs. Now let's ask the question then, what are the requirements for a Qadi, a judge in an Islamic court, to declare disbelief and anathemize somebody? What are the requirements? Can you just sit there and issue a fatwa, he's Kaafir? Issue a fatwa, mufti, issue a fatwa, Kaafir. Nowadays, muftis generally issue this fatwa in terms of kufr on this level and that level, whatever it is there. But in an Islamic country, you have to present that person in front of a court, right? And a judge, and the qadi, the judge of the Islamic court, they will judge in terms of the issues of this person's iman or kufr, because this is a very serious matter. As I mentioned to you last week, if you realize the implications of it, your nikah with your spouse is broken. You can't inherit from your family members, nor can your family members inherit from you. You will not be given final rights. You will not be buried in a Muslim qabristan. And moreover, after your death, your family members can't pray for you either, because you're on kufr, absolute kufr. So this is no play matter here. It's a very serious matter when we anathemize people, then we call people kafir and murtad and apostate and so on. Because in Islamic state, within 3 days, there's valid reason for this person engaging in apostasy and in treason or whatever it is, the person will be executed within 3 days. Now, coming to the issue again, the first requirement and the first thing that the judge will look at will be intention, niyyah. Every act of yours, innamal a'malu bin-niyyat, right? So a judge will first ask the question, what is this man's intention? What did he intend to do when he made a claim of kufr? He said something, or his actions directed towards a kufri action. What was his intention? The judge has to ascertain that to the best of his ability as to what this man's intention was. And obviously, you got to err in favor of the person who's accused, rather than erring purely based on academics or whatever it is. You rather give the person the benefit of the doubt in an Islamic court, right? Than just give out a judgment or whatever it is. Intention. I'll give you an excellent example of this. In the era of the Prophet ﷺ, there was a Sahabi of the Holy Prophet ﷺ who betrayed the Holy Prophet ﷺ to the kuffar of Makkah, and he informed them about the Prophet ﷺ's battle strategy and whatever it is there in an upcoming battle. Now, in terms of law and in terms of state law, this would construe as treason. Treason. And the Sahaba Ikram wanted to have him killed for treason, because obviously he thwarted the entire strategy and plan of the Prophet ﷺ, and he informed the Kuffar exactly as to what is going to happen. His name was Sayyidina Hafiz, Sahabi of the Prophet ﷺ. The Sahaba Ikram already had made up their minds that this man has committed treason and judgment for him is death. The Holy Prophet ﷺ then asked Hafiz, he said, why did you betray me? So then Hafiz went on to inform the Prophet, he said, Ya Rasulullah, I have family in Makkah, and the lives of my family members in Makkah were threatened. And they told me that if I did not betray you in terms of informing them about the plan and the strategy and whatever it is there, then all my family members in Makkah would have been put to death. He said, out of concern for their lives there, I had no option but to inform them. So the Holy Prophet ﷺ, Quran came down to say, no disbelief, no kufr. His intention was not kufr. His intention was not treason. He was being coerced and he was put into a very difficult condition. So therefore Allah and Rasul gave a fatwa and gave a final declaration that man did not fall into kufr and he was not to be executed in any way whatsoever. So intention plays a very, very important role. Number one, intention. Then after that, the Holy Prophet stated there, he said, you require absence of coercion. There are sometimes, these are the general ones, the absence of coercion. Did this man commit disbelief under duress? Was he intended with his own personal life? Was he intended in one way? Was he being coerced in any way whatsoever in terms of kufr? Right? If there is even a slight shadow of doubt in terms of the fact, hey, hold on a minute, this guy was being coerced. Nothing is clear cut here. You would have to give him the benefit of the doubt. You can't give a fatwa of kufr on him. Because there may be some situation there which put him under so much of duress that he was coerced into saying words of kufr, or acting in terms of his actions, doing something that which would constitute kufr, or anything of that sort there. But if there was any coercion whatsoever, and his heart was still fixed on iman, man kafara billahi min ba'di imani, illa man ukriha wa qalbuhu mutma'innun bil iman. But his heart was still firm on iman there, you cannot impute kufr on him at all. Number two. Number three, the Holy Prophet ﷺ spoke about, and the scholars have said, level of knowledge. And this is a very important one. Nowadays, right, if you have a degree in economics and if you have a PhD in economics, that gives you no qualification whatsoever in any of the Islamic sciences. Like every other field of knowledge, if you're a jahil in a certain field of knowledge, if you express an opinion, right, the scholars and the specialists in the field will look at you, jahil, what does he know? He hasn't been done ABC in this time. What does he know? Ignore it. You overlook it. And in terms of Islam and kufr, iman and kufr, this one is a very important one. There are lots of people out there who say things or who do things completely out of ignorance. They will present and articulate an opinion, they will articulate a perspective, possibly picked up from the internet, or they may have read an article written by some Oriental scholar and who know nothing about Islam, Islamic history, about fiqh, about jurisprudence, about aqidah, about you name it, they know nothing about anything. Right? They may have a background in terms of philosophy, in terms of sociology, in terms of Marxism, communism. They may know all of these other ideologies out there, but when it comes to their Islam, to the degree of that which they know these various other sciences of philosophy and materialist philosophy and rationalism and you name it, they don't have that degree of knowledge in terms of the Quran and the Sunnah and the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ. They will articulate a perspective. They will present to you a point of view, right, based on their knowledge, which is fundamentally what they call the secular sciences. So the guy will articulate an opinion, and if a scholar hears it, right, regardless of whether that person who articulates his opinion is an academic and a doctor of philosophy as well, in terms of Iman and Islam and his knowledge of Islam, he knows very little or she knows very little. The scholar, knowing full well that this person does not know much about Islam, and if he hears this person articulating a perspective which is not in keeping with the teachings of the Holy Quran and the teachings of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and the Aqidah of the Sunnah, the scholar will listen to him, right? Understand where he's coming from, but he will not give an issue, a fatwa of kufr on that man, because the man is making the statement here out of his ignorance in terms of Islamic sciences. And many of our people are involved in this nowadays. Everyone is interested in Islam. Everyone hears all the negative aspects about this issue about Islam, and that even apostasy, irtidal, is a major issue. Right? People are very, very passionate about the issue of irtidal, apostasy, and so on in this modern era. All of these things are current issues. And people are prone to articulating their perspectives. Generally, around a lunch table or when people have family gatherings, then you see they may be professors in other fields of knowledge or whatever it is, but all of a sudden, all of us become muftis, and we also give our own opinions on jurisprudence. I'm talking about issues of constitutional law in Islam. Right? In terms of constitutional law of Islam, you will get people who don't know the ABC of Islam talking about constitutional law. Not even a mufti, right? Not even a mujtahid fil madhab. Nowadays it's a bit lax, right? You got to be a mujtahid before you can talk about issues of constitutional law. And you and I discuss constitutional law of Islam, like the way you and I are discussing is orange the new black or is green the new black? That's how we will discuss issues of constitutional law, because we're just having a general discussion. But in those discussions, sometimes we may say things which border on kufr, or if not are kufr, but because it is done in ignorance, you cannot issue a fatwa of kufr on that person. Right? Then lack of knowledge. And then is one very important one, the absence of ta'wil, absence of what they call esoteric interpretation. Right? Tafsir and ta'wil, when you interpret it, when a person who's a scholar, now I'm talking about scholars, right? A person is a scholar, and this scholar deals with a certain issue in Islam. And when he deals with the issue in Islam, he has ta'wil, esoteric interpretation. So he uses the verse of the Holy Quran, and he tries to come to a conclusion in order to reach the truth. He is seeking truth from the Quran and from the Sunnah. And he takes the verses of the Holy Quran there and he interprets it. His interpretation may be incorrect, but his intention is to seek truth and reach the truth. And his opinion may differ from the overwhelming scholarly majority out there. But in view of the fact that provided the man does not repudiate any Quranic verse or any clear-cut injunction, and he gives an interpretation, as wrong as it may be, if he does not repudiate a Quranic verse or a categorical injunction there, you cannot give a fatwa of kufr on that man. This is a very important one. And I'll give you an example. What would you say about a person, based on your basic knowledge, and this is real basic knowledge, right? What would you say about a person who says that the fire of hell will be extinguished? It will burn, but eventually the fire of hell is not eternal. And being burned in the fire of hell is not eternal. The fire of hell will be extinguished. Knowing full well that we always know, khalidina fiha abada, they're going to remain in fire of hell permanently, eternally. So many verses of the Holy Quran speak about it constantly, that the people of the fire, the inhabitants of hell, the specific group of them will remain in the fire of hell eternally. Numerous verses. And unambiguous verses. There's no room open there for you to give a different interpretation on this matter and whatever it is there. Unambiguous. What would your opinion be about a scholar a scholar tells you, an Islamic scholar tells you that the fire of hell will be extinguished eventually? Kufr. Kufr. Wait. You know who made this? Who wrote he gave a full, almost, not an article or two, a treatise on it, right? The Imam of the Salafis, Ibn Taymiyyah. Ibn Taymiyyah, who is an Imam of the Salafi scholars, he wrote an entire position paper on the issue that the fire of hell will eventually be extinguished. And he used verses of the Holy Quran and opinions of the Sahaba Kiram about these matters, right, to present his case. But hold on. The verses of the Holy Quran categorically tell you that they're going to be in hell permanently, and the fire of hell is never ever going to be extinguished. How can Ibn Taymiyyah, who's a scholar, right, present an opinion like this and an opinion paper like this? If you and I were there today, we would have given a fatwa of kufr. But do you know the scholars of that time, in spite of the fact that his position on this is almost unique to him, the scholars of Islam, the overwhelming majority of scholars of the era, did not give a fatwa of kufr on him. Some of them did. But the overwhelming majority did not give a fatwa of kufr on him, because he did not repudiate the Quranic verses which say that the fire of hell is eternal and people will live for eternal damnation in the fire of hell. Because he didn't repudiate the Holy Quran, he said, no,